Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN, presented by Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Always appreciate you guys hanging out here with us live, whether it's on Game Plus Network or on our FTN YouTube page. If it is on our FTN YouTube page, smash that like button. You have any comments, any questions, you can leave them here. We will continue the March Madness talk. Usually on a Wednesday, we talk some PGA, but we have a lot of great content over at FTN Bets, FTN Daily, and FTNFantasy.com as well. We have a couple golf shows that you can catch out just right here on our FTN YouTube page. The guys breaking it down, Brian DeCourty, Matt Jones, giving you everything you need from a golf angle. We're going to continue the madness talk on this show. On Monday, we kind of had an early look at each region, talked some Final Four picks. Yesterday, we talked some sleepers and some, those teams that really just break brackets apart. Certainly for me, we looked at some of the 7-10, 6-11 matchups. And today, we will take a look at early sides, totals, and props. We have Mike Cutri in of FTNBets.com. He's going to drop by. We are going to take a look at just round 64. I do want to get his thoughts on teams that he thinks are going to come out of the regions. We went through all four regions, I think, at length on Monday and Tuesday, if you want to go back and check out that show. I will ask Mike's thoughts. Of course, I got to get a Final Four from the GOAT. I saw yesterday, he's already off to a really good start over at FTNBets.com. He had a 10-1 same-game parlay in the Indiana game, which Indiana won, took care of Wyoming. Now they play St. Mary's, I do believe, in the East, the 12-5 matchup. But he had a same-game parlay there, which he got correct, a 10-1. So I've been trying to hook up with Cutri for a long, long time. I know he's a busy guy, and he lives for, of course, March Madness, just like when we had Walter and Frank on in the previous days. But he's going to come in with a side, a prop, a total for Thursday and for Friday. So we're going to take an early look at some lines, and of course, we will get some thoughts. We do have the free bracket challenge available over at FTNBets.com. No real excuse for you not to be in this because, again, it is free. Even if you don't know a whole lot, I think we have enough content on our FTN YouTube page to help you guys out. I mean, you've got the Super Show, the College Basketball Super Show, which Cutri joins Walter Waddell on that from time to time. Those guys taking you through absolutely everything. It's very informative, so you can get a thing or two from that. Cutri joined Jill Gallant yesterday. They filled out a bracket as well. I thought that was great content. So lots of content available for free to help you out with your brackets. But as you see, first place $1,000, second $350, and third $150. And again, absolutely free. All you have to do is head to FTNBets.com and make a free account. You don't have to sign up for a betting account. If you want to, by all means, use the promo code Meaney, Mean Streets, FTN TV, all that good stuff. It will get you a discount. I do believe Meaney is the promo code for you. Selfishly, why not? I mean, it does give you 20% off, but you get all the picks, all the NHL picks. Hoping to bounce back today. 4 games on the ice. We have some picks and some props a little bit later on. Some college picks. I mean, MLB futures, right? Things are happening in baseball. Futures are getting placed over at FTNBets.com. NBA props. I think Jeff Ratcliffe is flirting with 80 units in the association as well. So the betting package gives you everything. Bets, tools, Discord channel, you name it. It's all there available over at FTNBets.com. And if you sign up for a free newsletter, you're going to get a free pick, access to some of those tools, get a little sneak peek of what we have to offer over at FTNBets.com. So Cutri's hanging by. We got 2 guests today. Shayna Goldman of The Athletic. Actually, Shayna does absolutely everything. She touches, I mean, it's hard to keep up with all the things that Shayna is doing. Sports Logic over at Sportsnet. I know her well from The Athletic, my time over at The Athletic. I'm really looking forward to talking to Shayna. She's a super sharp mind. She's very fun, knows her hockey, and she's a great follow on Twitter as well. Hey Shay. You got 3 Y's in Hey and 3 in Shay. And I tweeted it out, the Twitter handle. Even if you're just, you're a loose hockey fan, you love highlights, you don't get to see all the highlights. She does a really good job of, tweeting some of the highlights and GIFs, some of the plays of the night. And also just, like I said, super sharp. analytical driven. She does a great job of kind of relaying those analytics, especially because it's tough for some, I've had some people message me and on this show, they don't fully understand analytics, but they want to. And Shayna does a great job of relaying some of that. And she's the Hockey Writer of the Year, FSWA Hockey Writer of the Year. So congrats to her. She's going to drop by in a little bit. We're going to have a fantasy hockey conversation. I'll leave the picks and the bets at the end of the show. As I mentioned, there's only 4 games on the ice. I do have a couple picks and some goal scorers, some shot props for you, but I've had some people reach out. They're just loosely getting into betting. They still love fantasy hockey, and fantasy hockey playoffs just around the corner, week 23 to week 25. So Shayna and I are going to look at the teams that play the most during that stretch and see if there's any players available on the waiver wire that could help you out. I know she follows the Devils closely. I know she's followed the Rangers closely for my time knowing her as well. So I want to get her thoughts on Igor Shesterkin. What's the chances that this guy's going to win the Hart? It seems like the Vezna's already locked in. Kemper's got a couple shutouts in back-to-back games. Markstrom leads the NHL in shutouts, but what Igor Shesterkin's doing is really, really special, and I'd love to get her thoughts on maybe, Stanley Cup contender, who she thinks is legitimate Cup contender in her eyes, and maybe a move or two that a team could potentially make at the deadline. I checked out one of her recent articles over at The Athletic. She was talking about Claude Giroux, potentially to the Avs, also talking about Marc-Andre Fleury, who could potentially be on the move. I'm sure there's like 4 or 5 teams that could really use Marc-Andre Fleury. So a lot to get to here on this show. And get to the 3 stars in a minute. Just wanted to kind of rapid fire through some news items. And when the dust settles in Major League Baseball and in the NFL, we will have a deeper segment on the impact of some of these moves from a future standpoint, a betting standpoint, from a dynasty angle, and from a season-long redraft standpoint as well. But Russell Gage goes to Tampa Bay, the Bucks. I think he had a really good season last year with the Atlanta Falcons. We know Tom Brady is back. We didn't really address Tom Brady. I think we kind of touched on it yesterday. But Tom Brady is back. The GOAT is back. That retirement did not last long at all. I think he saw just, the opportunity in the NFC for him to really make a legitimate run at another Super Bowl, but he gets a pretty good weapon in Russell Gage. Of course, Antonio Brown is not going to be around with the Bucks this year. They franchise tagged Chris Godwin, who's coming off a significant knee injury, and they still have Mike Evans. I would imagine Gronk comes back. All those rumors to Gronk to Buffalo, I think you can squash them, but I think if he comes back, he's coming back to the Bucks. I thought that was a significant under the radar move. He could be a wide receiver 3 in fantasy football. He's linked to Tom Brady, who is fresh off leading the NFL in touchdown passes and passing yards. I think he still has it, even at that age. J.D. McKissic went to Buffalo. I think a bit of a downtick for him overall, but good news for Antonio Gibson. The way that they treated Gibson towards the last few weeks of the season, as a true bell cow back, touching the ball about 20 times on the ground, getting 3 or 4 targets. We were hammering his catch prop over 2.5, like plus 140 towards the end of the season. That's not how he was used at the start of the season. I think that's where a lot of people wanted him to be used that way. It certainly wasn't the case. I was a little skeptical on how they would use him. J.D. McKissic was that third down pass catcher. He was involved in 2-minute drills. It just kind of hampered the upside of a guy like Antonio Gibson. I don't know. Maybe they draft a guy, a third down back in the later rounds of the draft. Maybe they sign somebody. But I think they think that Gibson could be a bell cow back. I mean, he's a wide receiver converted running back. I never understood why he wasn't involved in the 2-minute drills. Line him up wide, line him up in the slot, out of the backfield. There's a lot of different things you could do with Gibson. So I think as of right now, certainly that is an uptick for Antonio Gibson. And then Matt Chapman switching over to baseball. We're still waiting on Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman, Chris Bryant, all these big name players. We saw Anthony Rizzo link up with the Yankees, so they are out on Freddie Freeman. Are the Jays out on Freddie Freeman? I would assume now Vlad plays first. Chapman goes over to third, who's a terrific defender. They traded, I think, 4 prospects to the Oakland Athletics. It's like the Billy Bean Moneyball thing. There's rich, there's poor, there's 50 feet of crap or whatever, and then there's us. Like, they're just shipping off guys. They traded Matt Olson to the Braves, and then they extended him in Atlanta. It looks like Freddie Freeman definitely gone from Atlanta. I don't know. Like, the Red Sox certainly, I think, could be in play. Are they going to spend any money? But it does seem like maybe the Dodgers. But I think it's a great get for Chapman. He strikes out a ton. 30% strikeout rate. He's probably going to strike out around then again this season. The average is not going to be super strong. I think he's better than a 220 hitter. Maybe he can give you 240, 250, but the pop is for real. 30 plus home runs, especially inside the Rogers Stadium, inside that division as well. So a lot there. Let's quickly do the 3 stars before we break here. We've gone a little long in the first segment, but Shayna's hanging by here, trying to get the timing out. So Ovechkin gets it done last night. After 3 straight games of betting on Ovi anytime goal, we finally got it and a little bit of our cash back that we lost over the past couple Washington games. But Anthony Mantha last night, another goal. We've talked up him quite a bit, so hopefully you've been riding the Mantha train. 767, third all-time, past Jaromir Jagr last night. So the most goals all-time by a European. Gordie Howe's second with 801, and Wayne Gretzky in first, of course. Breaking news on this show, 894. Ovi's 127 back. I still think he does it. I know Eric Young and I have had a lot of debates back and forth. I still think he does it. And then we have Cole Caulfield in there. 2 goals in 8 seconds, which is more than he had in 30 games with Dom Ducharme. He's got 10 goals and 19 points in 15 games. With Martin St. Louis behind the bench. 3 shots again last night. And then Eric Källgren. I think the Leafs found themselves a goalie, ladies and gentlemen. His first NHL start, and he picks up the 35-save shutout. We talked yesterday on Dangle Bet Seller with Eric that why not give this guy an opportunity? Maybe it can light a fire under Peter Mrazek. I saw Mrazek on the bench looking a little shook. I think they got to go back to Källgren there and see what they have with the kid. But we'll talk about the Leafs and the goaltending situation with Shayna Goldman. She's in here next. We are going to break down week 23 to week 25 in fantasy hockey land and see who she's feeling. Also for maybe a cup favorite. A lot of hockey talk here next on Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. I am super pleased and just overall, I'm filled with excitement to catch up with my former colleague, Shayna Goldman of The Athletic. Hey, Shay on the Twitter machine. Also does some fantastic work over at Sports Logic at Sportsnet. Shayna, welcome in. And first of all, congratulations, FSWA Hockey Writer of the Year. Well-deserved, Shayna. Look at you. I know you probably didn't want me to bring that up, but I mean, my goodness, that was well-deserved. Congratulations, and thanks for taking the time here today.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I'm happy to do this.
Would you remember the article? I know that it was from The Athletic, but do you remember which article? And how did you pick and choose? Because you do a lot of fantastic work over there.
I think I submit to my editor like 4 different ones. He was like, pick 4. I was like, okay. And I was going through like the goalie guide and, I think comparing the rankings was another. So a lot of it was definitely the preseason gearing up for the season type things. But I feel like those are more, I don't want to say more detailed, but like those are what you want to be prepared for the season. They're so all encompassing. So that was kind of like the direction I went.
Was it Nando? Was Nando the guy? He's like, pick 4, and yeah,
he's
of
the
course.
one that has pushed me to do all of this, and he's so fantastic about everything. I mean, just starting with fantasy writing, it was his idea, and he was like, "You should do this," and I was like, I've never done this before." And then even as I'm going, it's like, "You should try to be nerdier and like have fun with it." And his encouragement has gotten me here, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Nando's fantastic. He really sees the potential in people, and he does a great job of not aggressively pushing people to get to where he wants them to be, but he's very comforting in that aspect. So yeah. I love it. So congratulations again. You mentioned goalies kind of off the top. Before we get into, I wanted to really talk fantasy hockey with you, like season-long stuff, because a lot of people, they come for the bets and things like that, but they really are still playing fantasy hockey, and they just want some advice. So before we get into any of that, you mentioned goalies. So Tino, if you have the 3 stars, we brought it up in the last segment. Shayna, we do this on the show. We kind of touch on just 3 stars. You see over there who passed Yager last night. You recently wrote about Cole Caulfield over at Sportsnet, and then you had an article in The Athletic just talking about maybe potential trade pieces, guys who could flip. I don't want to go overboard here with the Leafs, but you know the market in Toronto. Yeah. Did they find themselves a goalie last night? Eric Shalgren last night picked up the 35-save shutout. Do you think that they make a move at the deadline for a goalie? I think they continue to ride out Shalgren here, Shayna, but what do you think the Leafs do at the deadline? Because we know they can score goals. We know they're very powerful offensively. One question I think we all have is what are they going to do in net? What do you think they do in net moving forward?
I think that they do address their goaltending at the deadline, but it's super interesting because it's like, if this could have happened a week or 2 ago, maybe they'd have a better idea of what they actually have now in net with their new look tandem. But I think it's too soon to say, one game, here it is. Yeah. This is, that would be so short-sighted for a team that should be built to contend with their players in their prime. I could see them going for a backup. I think we did an article about how every team stacks up to like the cup checklist with Dom Lucian, and he mentioned James Reimer as an option. And I think that is an intriguing one. Like, there's a cool redemption story here if they went for a player like Reimer, but maybe that's what they should be going for. Maybe they shouldn't be going over the top for some top tier goaltender, which is going to be really tough to find. It's the goalie market is not great this year. And there's a lot of teams looking for help in that, like the Oilers, like the Capitals, maybe the Wild. So should they be jumping at that? Like, I don't think they should be going for the top tier, but I think that they should get some reinforcements in net because you don't need your entire playoff chances to disintegrate because of that. And hopefully for their sake, Jack Campbell's slip and play does have to do with his injury because it turns out he was playing through it. And, hopefully he can get healthy and trend in the right direction too. But they can't put all their eggs in one basket just yet.
No, I think it's a good call, Reimer. Like, he knows the market, right? He knows the pressure of it. He doesn't have to just like carry them totally if something does happen. And I do believe that you're spot on with Jack Campbell. I think he's good enough. I think he's fine, and clearly he's been he's been battling with an injury. So I think he's the guy. Like, if he can be healthy, I think that he could maybe potentially help them go on a run. Cole Caulfield was on that board, so I selfishly have to ask you about Cole Caulfield. But everybody on the show is just always talking about Cole Caulfield. Shayna, what a difference between him, Dom Ducharme, 1 goal in 30 games. He had 2 goals in 8 seconds last night with the Canadiens. What have you seen? Just a confidence thing with this guy? Clearly, he's getting more ice time and more opportunity, which helps.
It's a little bit of both. I think that I wasn't the biggest Dominic Ducharme fan when he took over. I think he lucked into a lot of things in the playoffs last year, including when he didn't start Caulfield. Injuries forced him to change his lineup at times, and those, it opened the door for things that ended up helping the Canadiens. So I don't look at him as some outstanding coach from a usage perspective. I think a big thing for Caulfield now is understanding the way something he talked about was loosening up the structure and, encouraging players to make reads. And when you're an offensive player like Cole Caulfield, if you see an opening, you should be able to jump at it. You shouldn't be pulling back because this is what the systems direct you to do. And that's been the best thing for him right now. He's getting to the quality areas, which he wasn't doing before. That's the biggest change. It's not necessarily shot volume, it's shot location. He's getting to the slot at a high rate and he's finishing. He has that finishing ability. And, a little bit of confidence goes a long way with that finishing talent too. So I think everything's just working out in the right way for him now. And you can see he's in a much better position to succeed. And, now the Canadiens, there's a little bit of signs of encouragement. While the first half of the season, it was just a disaster all around.
Yeah, all around. How refreshing, though, to hear a coach talk about concept and systems and just being free and things like that. Mike Convery checks in. Feel free to discuss Cole Caulfield for 30 to 40 minutes. I think we're done with the Cole Caulfield, Mike, but I did have to ask Shayna. I know she had an article over at Sportsnet about Caulfield's recent play. So let's get into fantasy hockey talk, week 23, 25. You and I were chatting back and forth. I think some people play, fantasy playoffs could be week 23. It could be week 24, the final 3 weeks of the season. I think week 26 is pretty much a 2-week period. Most teams play 4 games. You could have 6 or 7 games in there from a team over the final couple of weeks. We came up with a board of this is the list of teams who play the most during, at the start of week 23. So week 23 all the way up to the end of week 24. The Buffalo Sabres and the St. Louis Blues up at the top, 12 apiece. You got the Dallas Stars in here last night who were shut out against the GOAT, Shalgren. And you got Minnesota Wild in there, 11. The Islanders have a lot of games to make up. They started 13, I believe, on the road. Then they had a couple postponements in the middle part of the season, and then the Maple Leafs in there as well. Let's start with the Buffalo Sabres. What a bounce-back season from Jeff Skinner. He's looked really good, shooting the puck a ton. Alex Tuch is on the board, looks great early on in his Buffalo Sabres career, but I wanted to talk to you about Tage Thompson. This guy's got triple eligibility in Yahoo leagues, and what a season he is having, a breakout campaign. And Shayna, I just noticed he's hanging around a lot of waiver wires. I don't know if that's just a Buffalo thing, if people are overlooking plus minus a little bit, but what do you think about Tage Thompson? Do you think he is a player that could help people out come play?
Yeah, I think you can take plus minus. I've made my opinion clear. You can throw it out the door. I hate that it's in fantasy hockey. The bad team effect directs too many decisions. The thing is too, there are players on bad teams that'll be playing, top 6 minutes and they're not, owned at a high percentage. And it doesn't make enough sense. I get it. Quality of teammates is important, but players like Tage Thompson, that's, he's on the first line and he shifted to center and it's been huge for his game. This is a player that can, shoot at a really high rate. So if you want shots, you can get him. You're going to get points from him. And he gets to the quality areas too. So, and he's playing between 2 really good wingers. So everything's working on his favor. And then you add in the triple eligibility. This is the biggest thing here. You want your core players on your roster to be the ones that you focus on. Nathan MacKinnon is a center only. He's playing every single night as a center. I don't care who else is playing. You're playing Nathan MacKinnon. You don't want it that you go, well, I have 4 depth players that are centers. Cool, they're going to sit on the bench then. So if you can have, you build your roster and you have someone with that much flexibility that you can work them around your best players, you should jump at the opportunity. And here's a player who legitimately, you're not just picking him up for the eligibility. It's a cherry on top of a really good player.
Yeah, and you mentioned that he's a volume shooter, which we love on this show because we do love shot props. So that checks the box. And sidebar, are the Golden Knights in trouble? I think they may be in trouble, right? I mean, a month ago when they acquired Jack Eichel, the Stanley Cup odds were kind of right there with Colorado. Clearly, Shayna, they've dealt with so many injuries, a lot of injuries up and down their lineup. But now I'm looking at them as a team that's just hanging on to that wild card spot. Dallas has games in hand. The Winnipeg Jets seem to be playing with a little bit of confidence as well. Just to kind of put you on the spot, are the Golden Knights going to make the playoffs? It's a question I didn't think I would ask anybody a month ago.
I know. I got asked this a couple weeks ago and I was like, they're making the playoffs. They'll be fine. And now it's more injuries keep piling up. you could see the impact of not having Mark Stone. And that's the thing, like you add Jack Eichel, and Jack Eichel at his best would be a wash with Mark Stone, I would say, in terms of impact. And the fact that he is going to take a minute to get up to speed, a new team, a new system, and, not playing for a year, those are all going to play into it. But he's been fine. He's not the one that I'm even looking at. It's everything else, Pacioretty's missed time. Riley Smith has missed time. William Karlsson missed time. Their defense has both missed time and not playing up to expectations. And then their goaltender, Robin Lehner, has missed time. And there's nothing wrong with Brossoit, but he's not Lehner. He's not Fleury either from last year. So they don't have an easy road ahead of them. And there are games like against the Jets, I would expect them to win. Against the Blue Jackets, I would expect them to win. And these are teams that are lower in the standings, but like they can still compete every night. I don't know what happens with them. Like the West is really interesting. Dallas is tricky because they have a really good top line, a great number one defenseman who's out indefinitely, and they have a very good goaltender. That's really it. Paper to paper, it's Vegas is the better team, but nothing's going their way right now. So I want to say they just sneak in. I think it's good if they're in with that roster. They went all in. There isn't much they can do at the deadline. It's not their fault that they have so many injuries, but what can you do at this point? I want to say they sneak in over Dallas, and it's because of Miro Heiskanen being out and because Dallas just doesn't have that forward depth to produce if they don't have their top line on. But like, it's going to be really close.
It really is. I mean, you mentioned Dallas, and they were on the board, and I think you just said it, right? Like Essa Lindell, if you want blocks, maybe he gets a little bit more ice time as somebody who could maybe help you out. Now. Yeah, that's pretty significant as well, because that power play is good. You mentioned those three guys, like they kind of correlate 5-5 and into the power play as well with that top line. I mean, they didn't do anything yesterday, but for the most part, I mean, Jason Robertson's been fantastic. Pavelski's playing like a 25-year-old kid again, and Rupe Hintz is finally healthy, and he's contributing a lot as well. And it is interesting with the Vegas Golden Knights because you think, what could they do if they want to activate Stone? Then they probably have to move Dadonov or Riley Smith. Maybe, yeah, one of the two. But I like that Misfits line when they're together. I think they probably want to keep that trio together. And if they do sneak in, could you imagine if they faced Colorado in the first round? The Avs are like, what? Seriously?
Yeah.
We're going to face Vegas in the first round?
We all wanted to is that Western Conference final. You look at it, and we've been saying it for a while, and we got it in round 2 last year, and Vegas outplayed Colorado. They adapted better. They figured out their systems and exactly how to stop them, and Colorado just could not, when they didn't have home ice and didn't control the matchups as much, just couldn't stack up to that team. So this is a team that should be in the mix. Should not be facing a top team in round 1. And it'll be so interesting if they do, though. Will they be healthier? Will they have Mark Stone back in the mix if they go against Calgary or Colorado? Like, I have so many questions, and obviously it's something we want to see. At this point, yes, we'd like that. Sure, we'll take it as a round 1. Whoever gets through, now we want is the round 3 to make it all the way through and go up against Colorado or Calgary. We win. If somehow we get a Western Conference final that's either Calgary-Vegas, Colorado-Vegas, or Colorado-Calgary, we all win.
I agree.
But who knows what can happen? It's the craziest time of year, so we really can't predict it. But with the Vegas, I mean, we really can't predict it.
No, we can't. And they've done so much too, Shane. I want to move off the Golden Knights, but they have done so much. Punch Face VIP checks in, which is an interesting YouTube name. I respect that. When Vegas is going best is when Stone is making plays and he is active. Yeah, he's their guy. He's their best defensive forward. He kind of is the straw that stirs the drink there in Vegas. They do have a lot of nice pieces, but they have just traded so many prospects and so many first-round picks over the year. Stone, Pacioretty, Eichel. The time to win is now. Shayna, hang on. I want to break. If you can hang on for one more segment, there's a few more names I want to ask you about. I want to get maybe a cup pick out of you as well. Minnesota was on that board. I like Matt Boldy. I want to find out if you like him just as much as I do and some of the viewers here on Mean Streets. So hang on. Shayna's going to stick around with us. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and Shayna Goldman here of The Athletic here with you. Hey, Shay on the Twitter machine. Also, you can check it over work at Sportsnet, Sports Logic. Shayna, let's get back into that board, Tino, if you can drop that board again. We only have a couple more minutes. I did want to get your thoughts on Matt Boldy, if you wanted to give him some love, or if there's anybody else, somebody from St. Louis, maybe somebody from the Islanders. Anders Lee and Brock Nelson have been on a heck of a tear, and they're kind of hanging around waiver wires as well. Is there Noah Dobson's been phenomenal too.
Yeah.
I think people are a little slow to pick him up as well. Any player you wanted to maybe address, help the people out here, Shayna?
Yeah, so with the Islanders, you made good picks, but Noah Dobson's a standout for me. I mean, if you want shots from the blue line, you're going to get it. If you're looking for blocks and shots, then Ryan Pulock is your guy. Absolutely. He's a bomb of a shot, and he's more than willing to get right in front of him and plays tough minutes. And the team, he has such a good defensive impact, him and Adam Pelech at the same time. So, but yeah, let's talk Matt Boldy. I got asked last week, I think it was, like, is he for real? And the thing is too, like, he is. He came into the league. He was scoring at a super high rate. Do we expect him to do that all year? No, that's ridiculous. There's very few players in the league we would expect to play at that rate consistently through an 82-game season. That doesn't mean he's not a very good impact player, and he's playing on a good line in Minnesota, like with Kevin Fiala. That's a super skillful player who they've been looking to get that right match for quite some time, and now it's Frederick Gaudreau and Matt Boldy, and he's getting power play time. There's a lot of potential there, and this is a team that needs offense, and he can bring it. That's why they kind of moved up as that second line instead of the Greenway line that typically was that second line under Kaprizov's. But yeah, I think, he's a really good player. He's for real. He's what you want in a fantasy player, no doubt. And that's the thing too, like, if you want a fantasy player from Minnesota, obviously you're going to want someone around that top line. If you can get Matt Zuccarello, you go for it. If you can get Ryan Hartman, even though he's not as
he's been dropped
as a player.
lately, but I think he's fine. Like, he's been dropped lately, but I think, the upside is there playing on that line.
As long as he's on that line. And he brings a physical play. But if he's not on that line, he's not worth it. But he's not the play driver, but you can benefit from teammates around him. That's the whole point right there. But if you want the player that's going to be the source of offense, it's going to be Boldy or Fiala on the next line.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the confidence that Boldy has. Like, he's a volume shooter. He loves to shoot the puck. He doesn't look like a rookie at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that they would be in play for Claude Giroux? And what has happened to Alex Talbot? I mean, he looked awesome last year, and he looked great early on, but they're not getting any goaltending at all in Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know if they go for Giroux because I think it's a big price, and I'm not sure they're going to be the team to step up to do it for a rental, up front at least. But they do need a center, and it would be interesting to see him there. Goaltending is really tricky. Like, Kaapo Kakkonen was stepping up when Cam Talbot was hurt and was playing at a really high level, so it was his net to grab. And then they started rotating again once Talbot was healthy. And now they're both trending in the wrong direction. Like, they really do need to do something there. Like, this is a team for me. I do want to see them go for someone like Fleury because I think it would be interesting. Like, look, I know Fleury probably doesn't want to play for a division rival of the Penguins. And I understand that. But Vegas did him dirty this summer. Like, I want to see some, like, petty revenge right here. I want to see him go for a team and be the one shaking Vegas's hand at the end of it, being like, you're not getting past me. Should have kept me. Your season would be a hell of a lot different if you did.
Right, they should have kept him the whole time. I thought that they even messed around in the playoffs last year by going to Leonard and then back to Fleury. I just didn't understand what that was all about. We only got about 30 seconds, so we'll get you out of here on this. Kind of puts you on the spot. Give me maybe a cup contender that you do like. Is it the Flames? I know they're in action against the Devils tonight, but who's a team in your opinion that's really just kind of caught your eye lately and you think they can go on a serious run?
I do like the Flames a lot. There's so much up and down their lineup, and they've got stronger Tyler Toffoli. I want to see what Colorado does. If they go for Giroux, I think that kind of locks them in as my favorite because they've addressed so many different areas. They have two good goaltenders. Really, it's just bottom six scoring. And if they get a player like Giroux, even if he's on the third line or it bumps someone else to the third line, I think that's good for them. Like, it feels like this is the year they're learning from their past failures, essentially. And, their skill up and down that lineup. Like, I'm intrigued by Colorado, but like from the East, I do like the Panthers a lot. This is their best year, and I think they're going to make a big splash at the deadline to really solidify their chances because they know this is their best year to compete based on the way their players are playing and based on their cap situation.
I did see a report last night about Giroux potentially going there. I can't imagine him in that lineup. I guess Owen Tippett would be the guy that they part ways. They'd have to get rid of a nice young player like that to get a guy like Giroux. But man, that offense would be so scary. They already lead the league in goals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to
I
add a
don't
guy
think
like
that's what
Giroux
they
would be
should
fantastic.
target, though.
I don't think it's what they
It's
need either.
defense. It's defense.
Yes,
Like
100%.
Look, Forsling got hurt last night, and all of a sudden it was like, now you should panic because he's such a good number 3 for them. He was a number 2 last year when Ekblad went down. It's that Radko Gudas is their number 4 when I think he's better as a 5 or 6. So it's not enough to him. They're not a contender. I think that's the one position that I'm like, I would like to see them go for a Lindholm or, go for a Chikrin and really spice it up. They just have to figure out the cap numbers. And if anyone has the assets, it is them. But their cap goes up next year with Barkov's extension. A year later, it's going to be Huberdeau. So it's going to get pricey very quickly for them. Like, that's the team that should be really trying to maximize what they have this year.
I think a left-handed defenseman too. Like I like Ekblad and Weegar as a pair, but also I would like to see them maybe get a left-handed defenseman. To your point, Gudas, like more as a bottom pair, as a 6 as opposed to a 4. Shayna, this is fantastic. I mean, I could go all day with you for sure. So I do appreciate you taking the time. Hey Shay on the Twitter machine, fantastic follow. If you're just getting into analytics, she can help you out. She does a great job of kind of relaying that as well with amazing graphs and charts. You're killing it over at The Athletic and Sport Logic at Sportsnet. And again, congratulations, FSWA Hockey Writer of the Year. And check out Too Many Men, the podcast from Shayna Gold. You still doing that? Yes? Yeah, here and there?
No.
Yeah, maybe? No?
We're talking.
No?
We're talking about it. Everyone wants it back, so we're seeing what we can do.
You got to give the people what they want. And what the people want is some more Madness talk. So Mike Cutri's in here. We're going to continue March Madness talk on Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. There he is, Mr. Mike Cutri, CBB on the Twitter machine. As I said off the top of the show, I have been, I've been trying to link up with you for a long time. I know you're a busy guy. Our schedules haven't been able to coordinate, but this is it, man. This is your time, March Madness. I already see you're off to a hot start. What, a 10-1 same game parlay last night? You were cooking, sir. I appreciate you taking the time, man. How's it going?
Meaney, what is up? Listen, dude, it is an absolute pleasure and an honor to be on the show with you. You, my friend, are an absolute legend. The edge you have on NHL is quite impressive. And I just need to tell you, from one capper to another, I'm a huge fan.
Oh, a ton of respect. I mean, I didn't even pay this guy to say this. And I was already at the top of my on my checklist of like guys I need to, talk to about college basketball because, man, for you to say that is absolutely amazing because you have been crushing it since day one over at FTN. I've been pumping your tires a lot on this show, so I'm super happy to be able to just kind of get your thoughts. On Monday, we talked with Frank, just kind of taking a look at the regions, and then yesterday, we talked with Walter about maybe some upsets. You got some sides, some totals, and some props here on the opening days. Where do you want to start, man? And I wanted to also get your thoughts at the end, your final four. I know you sat down with Jill Gallant yesterday, and you guys got to walk through the bracket. The Kentucky guy made you pick Kentucky, so nobody's going to force you into any picks here. Jokes aside, I know G-Dub is in the house. But let's start with maybe a pick on Thursday. We'll talk Thursday, Friday. What do you like here for the opening two rounds? What stands out?
Sure. So from a betting perspective, there's a couple angles that I do think that we can attack, right? So if you want to start out with my favorite sides for the Thursday slate, the first thing I'm looking at is UCLA against Akron, right? So everybody kind of remembers UCLA as the Cinderella darling from last year with their magical Final Four run. They return everybody this year. They were a little overhyped, I think, by a lot of people's means coming into the year. A lot of people had them rated first or second. A little overrated. They kind of hit some bad luck, injury luck throughout the year. They kind of stumbled down the stretch, and they actually come in here as a pretty dangerous 4 seed. But the matchup here against Akron is kind of where I want to focus. Akron comes out of the MAC as one of the hottest teams in the conference. They ran through the conference tournament, winners of 8 straight. Actually, the last couple of years, the team that's come out of the MAC has been quite dangerous in the tournament. If you look at Ohio last year, who knocked out Virginia in the first round as a good example. But matchup-wise, what Akron's going to try to do here is they're going to try to slow down UCLA as much as they can and make this a half-court game. Akron actually ranks 351st nationally in tempo, and they post up at the 14th highest frequency in the nation. So they're going to look to pound it inside, and they're going to try to limit UCLA in transition. And when you're looking from a gambling perspective in a game that's going to be much slower pace, half-court pace, you always want to tend to side with the dog and getting points there because there's going to be lower possessions, right? Akron also has a decent amount of length on the wing and inside to match up with UCLA. They have a swingman Ali, who's 6'8", who can match up with Jaime Jaquez on the wing. And they have Enrique Freeman inside, who has a 7'1" wingspan that can kind of limit attempts at the rim as well. And, when you kind of see these higher seeds against low major and mid-major teams, one of the things you typically see is, athleticism or length disparity, which I don't think you see that here with Akron. I think they can match up athletically. Their head coach, John Gross, is actually an ex-Illinois coach, so he has high major experience. I think they could hit enough shots, make this kind of a grind type game, and I'm taking the 14.5 points for sure.
Nice. And UCLA is going to win, right? I got them beating Baylor. I want them to go on a bit of a run.
I'm not saying that UCLA is going to lose this game, but I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people expect. It kind of gives me the feelings of that Purdue-North Texas game from last year, where it was very low possession, kind of grinded out. North Texas made plays down the stretch to pull up the upset. I don't know if Akron's going to do that, but I get the feeling of that type of game here.
These teams that play to the slow pace, they're the dangerous teams, in my opinion, I think, in this tournament, right? If they slow it down and they can get some stops, slow the pace down and play to, their tempo and how they want to play, I find some of those teams make noise in this tournament. So sticking with Thursday, you got a favorite total on the board?
Oh, absolutely. So this is another team that came into the season highly rated off the bat in the preseason. A lot of people have them in the top 10. They kind of snuck into the tournament here. So I'm going to go with a total with the Memphis and Boise State game in the same region as Gonzaga. So this Memphis team kind of stumbled in the middle of the season. They're very young. Penny brought in a massive recruiting class there. But they kind of hit some team chemistry issues in the middle of the season, and they actually had to beat Houston twice to get that final spot here into the tournament. And they match up with this Boise State team out of the Mountain West, who is very, very long and athletic and can match up with them defensively, which Memphis doesn't really see that much throughout the entirety of the year. They're very switchable. Both teams are very great defenses. Boise ranks 17th nationally in defensive efficiency per KenPom. Memphis isn't too far behind, 32nd. But where these two teams differ, and I kind of mentioned this in the last breakdown, is pace. So Memphis wants to get up and down the court. They rank 34th nationally in tempo, while Boise completely wants to slow the game down. They rank 306th nationally in tempo, and they want to make this a half-court game. I think that Boise can actually do that and dictate the pace. We've seen Memphis struggle mightily all throughout the season when they're limited to a half-court type of game and they can't get out and run. And where Memphis kind of tries to supplement their offense when they struggle in the half-court is on the offensive glass. But what Boise can do is they can absolutely rebound the ball in the defensive glass. 5th best team nationally in defensive rebounding. I think this is going to be kind of a slugfest if Boise can control the pace. I don't think Penny, you got to remember, this is Penny's first time in the tournament. I don't think he's going to have them prepped as well as he should. And that total number is a little too high for me at 133.5. I'm going to go with the under.
133.5. Okay, with the under. I like it. I dig it. You have a prop from Thursday as well. Let's break. We'll come back and revisit maybe a couple props that you like, get a Final Four, and you also have a couple picks for Friday. So Cutri's going to hang on. One more segment with Mike here on Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. Talking to Mike Cutri, CBB on the Twitter machine. We are running through some early spreads and totals. Round 64, day 1 and 2, we're getting underway here officially tomorrow. You gave some spreads and some totals on Thursday. Let's transition into Friday. I know that there was a game that you and I chatted about yesterday, Illinois. I think the line has moved slightly, but talk to me about that matchup. What do you like from it?
So I think this is a really good spot to attack the favorite in this game. I'm going to be on the Illinois side. I actually grabbed it at 6.5 when it opened. It got bet up to 7.5. I still think it's viable there. And Illinois is one of those teams where they dealt with injuries all year. And they lost a few games early in the season because of that. Kofi was suspended in the beginning of the year. But they're finally getting healthy. They have the backcourt that everybody likes to think, or it's actually a fact that the backcourt kind of runs teams through March. And Illinois certainly has a backcourt between Trent Frazier, Alfonso Plummer, and now a fully healthy Andre Curbelo, which to me is the X factor to the ceiling of this team. But what this game kind of comes down to with their matchup with Chattanooga is just the monster down low Kofi Cockburn. And I don't think Chattanooga has the personnel to match up with him and defend him in the paint. If you kind of look at the stats, Chattanooga is a little undersized in the center position. They do have a very good talent. He actually came out of Kansas. He was a highly rated recruit in Silvio De Sousa, but he is more of a power forward. He's only 6'9", he's a little undersized for that position. And everybody knows how massive Kofi is. If you look at the stats all year, Chattanooga actually only ranks out at 272nd in the nation in 2-point percentage defense. That does not bode well against the Illinois team, who's probably going to try to pound it in the paint, give Kofi a lot of touches. If they decide to double him, they have the shooters outside to make him pay. I think Illinois kind of runs through Chattanooga here, even though I think Chattanooga is a great team. It's just a poor matchup, so I'm going with the Illini here.
And the perks of following you and having the betting account, following FTN alerts, you get those bets right away, you get notified, right? You jump in on the line. That's the edges that certainly you do a really good job of finding. One more here before we get you out. I saw a total between Purdue and Yale at 142. Like, dude, this is high, but you like the over here. You like some points. Talk to me about this game.
Oh, absolutely. So the total is sitting at 142.5. I think it got up to maybe to 143, which I still think it's a viable play. Starting with Yale, honestly, they really shouldn't be in this tournament. They had an absolute ceiling performance in the Ivy League final game where they were just hitting contested jump shots from all over the place. They do have a very talented guard in Azar Swain, who can absolutely fill it up from everywhere. So I think he could have a little bit of success against this poor Purdue defense, who we'll get into in a minute. But taking a look at that championship game, which is kind of a shame because Princeton would have gave a lot of teams in this tournament some problems as a low seed. But we have to end up with Yale, who I don't think can beat Purdue. But if you look at the shot quality metrics for Yale, and going back to that Princeton game, shot quality actually had Yale a double-digit loser in that game, which kind of tells a lot about how highly contested jump shots that they were making throughout that game. But sticking to this matchup, everybody knows that Purdue has their problems with their defense, and I think that Yale could find a little bit of success in their ball screen offense, especially with Azar Swain, as I've mentioned. But the biggest mismatch here is the front court of Purdue. I mean, Purdue is still an offensive juggernaut. They're ranked 3rd nationally in offensive efficiency. They got 2 Goliaths down low and Zach Edey and Trev Williams, which Yale has absolutely nobody who can stop them. I just think Purdue, this is a spot where they can put up 90 against this Yale team, and this can easily go over.
Wow, 90. You had 2 props. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I will share them. You got to trust Mike. He's crushing it with the props. You had Nate Watson from Providence over 13.5 points and Terrence Shannon, Texas Tech, over 9.5 points as well. Dude, we only have like 10 seconds, but I want to get a Final Four. I want to put you on the spot. Have you even locked it in yet? Just give us a Final Four. Quick time.
So I am not locking it in just yet. I still have some time before it locks.
That's fair.
But as of right now, I have the Zags.
Yeah.
I have Kentucky.
Yeah.
I have Tennessee, and I have Kansas. A little chalky, but after breaking down the bracket for the last couple of days, I'm starting to get pretty comfortable. The Tennessee pick, I'm a little still on the fence with because I think there's a potential matchup with Villanova, which they actually don't match up very well with. But if they can get past them, I think they can beat Arizona and make to the Final Four. I do have a 70-1 future on them, so I'm really hoping that happens.
And that's what I wanted to bring up, and that's why you shouldn't be hesitant about Tennessee. Ride with it. 71 future Tennessee. Are you kidding me, Cutri? That's fantastic, man. Good luck. I'm sorry we're short on time. We do have to get out of here, man. Mike Cutri, CBB. Give him a follow on Twitter. The betting package, absolutely worth it because of this guy. NHL picks in here next. Keep her locked. Welcome to the quickest segment ever. It's the Gabe Morency special. Here's the shot props for tonight. I'm going to break down more analysis on the YouTube page if you want it. Shabbat over 3.5 is plus money. 6, 3, and 6 in his last couple of games. Josh Norris, he's cleared in 3 of his last 5. Oliver Bjorkstrand has cleared in 5 of 7. He had 7 shots in his last game. All these guys are plus money, including Mark Giordano, who's cleared in 3 of his past 4 games. Shabbat is up there, but he leads the NHL in ice time. The Sens give up a lot of rubber. The Blue Jackets give up a lot of rubber. We could see a lot of goals goals and a lot of shot attempts from both teams. Here's the goal scorers on the way out. I got a few led by Kucherov. You got Pasta in there. Tyler Toffoli, who's been on a heck of a heater. You're going to see a lot of goals from the Flames against the Devils off the second half of a back-to-back. Line and Norris inside that game. And this one's for Shayna Goldman, Matt Boldy, plus 270 against the Boston Bruins. I appreciate all you guys taking the time to hang out. Mike Cutri, what a goat. Go give him a follow on the Twitter machine. Have a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers.